my wife is out of town for like a week and a half, and they're both just extremely upset and needy. When she's home, they're just like, screw you, you mean nothing to me. I prefer your wife way more. And now that she's gone, both my dogs are like, okay, you're the head honcho at this point. Uh, Anyway, we're live now, and this is episode four
Hey.
of the day. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in again. Hopefully, this is your fourth episode as well. We have Debbie Levitt here, and she is amazing. We're going to be talking about
Thank you.
all the stuff about the job market and also how you could
Yeah.
potentially transition out of it if it's not the right space for you. So, Debbie, would you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, and I've been in UX in one form or another for almost 30 years. I started out more as a strategist and interaction designer, information architect, prototyper, and then started adding research to that around 2011, and did both design and research for a while. And then when everybody got very into Figma, I kept using Axure and started doing a lot more research. And so some of my more recent jobs, if you end up LinkedIn stalking me, are going to look researchy or strategy, or sometimes I'm brought into companies in leadership or change agency stuff. And yeah, other than that, some of you might know me from some of my books or my YouTube. Some of you might know me from LinkedIn, but I've been so shadow banned there lately that it's hard to feel like it's worth posting a lot.
Yeah, LinkedIn can be challenging, but thank you so much for, giving another chance on live stream today. For
Thanks for
those of
including me.
you who aren't aware, this is like full circle almost because the first live stream I ever went on was on Debbie's. And this is like years ago at this point where I first started
Right.
writing on LinkedIn. So yeah, this is awesome. Good to see you again, and
You
thank you so much
too.
for helping with the great cause. We're trying to raise enough money to help Tiffany get back on her feet because she lost her home unfortunately in the recent fires in Altadena, California. So this is really important to us. If you can spare, a suggested donation of $25, we would greatly appreciate it. If you can spare more, we would appreciate it even more. Less, totally okay too. Every dollar counts. In the past 2.5 days, we've raised over, I believe, $2,000 at this point. So
Yeah, I don't know why the graphic says 13,895 raised. Did you really raise
no, no, no. That's a
$13,000?
start when we first started doing it. That's actually 10 donations in. We started at 69 donations and we're now at 151 donations. So yeah, we've raised quite a bit. Not 13,000, but we're almost at $18,000 now. So this is awesome, folks. Please, if you can spare a few dollars, please donate. We would greatly appreciate it. And as always, the prize is the top donor for this episode. I will give 1 free hour of coaching to, we can talk about anything you like. I've seen quite a few portfolios, hundreds at this point. So if you want to chat about how recruiters look through portfolios really quickly, what they're, what kind of signals they're looking for, I'm the right person for that. And of course, we can talk about salary negotiation. We can talk about anything you like, content creation, anything. You have me for the whole hour. So please donate. We would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, Debbie, I love your background as well. Like, listen, you've talked about the job market a lot recently, and the job market has kind of like ping pong back and forth like crazy in the last wow, like 5 years ever since like COVID started, and it doesn't feel like it's settled down. Doesn't I don't think anyone really knows where it's going. But like, what are your thoughts right now? Like, what's happening right this moment?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because it's one of those things where a lot of us have predictions, and in some cases, we're predicting completely opposite things, and so we truly don't know where this is going. Whereas when I think about some other things that have happened in the last handful of years, a lot of people predicted the same thing and went in that direction. Everyone was like, "Yay, look at me, I'm right." Here we're all battling over predictions. I'm definitely in the camp of thinking that a lot of tech is not going to rebound. I don't think the job market is going to get stronger. I believe, and again, this is my prediction. I could be totally wrong. I'd be happy to be wrong. This is not I certainly can't make this happen. If you've read any of my books, I don't want it to happen. But I think that we're going to see a lot fewer jobs in UX in general. And I know you cater a lot to designers. I'm just talking about UX in general. Um, I think we're going to see an increase in short contract jobs, since in reality, companies need you when they need you and want to get rid of you when they want to get rid of you. And so I think that the old myth that a full-time job was incredibly stable and secure, I think we've dispelled that by now. There really doesn't seem to be anything necessarily secure by it. And you run the risk that your employer publicly announces that you're a bottom performer. And so I think that we're going to see more contract stuff. I think we're going to see rates continue to go down. I think we're going to see people being paid less, and both in full-time salaries and in contract roles. I think we're going to see more people thinking that they're going to benefit from being a freelancer and not being ready for how difficult it is to find work when you're a freelancer. So I'm generally predicting that I don't think the job market is going to rebound. People keep telling me, when's the AI crashes the plane moment, where companies are going to realize they shouldn't invest so much in AI or use AI tools so much and come back and hire all of us. I don't believe that's going to happen. We've seen some AI crashes the plane moments, and everyone just said, oops, sorry, and kept going. So I know I'm talking your head off and I'm not giving you a space to ask a question, and I should, but in general, and I'm happy to take audience questions too, but in general, I feel like the job market is not likely to get significantly stronger for us in tech.
Yeah, no, listen, you're the guest, so if I'm doing more talking, I'm
You
probably
can
dying.
disagree.
I'm dying at this point from talking so much, so I appreciate any break I can get.
Go for it.
One thing you mentioned was how my audience mostly designers and yours is mostly UX. I
Yeah,
think that's
UX
actually
and UX.
what does that mean exactly? Like, can you
Yeah,
define
so
that?
my audience for forever, it's just starting to change in the last few months, but my audience forever, because I started on YouTube in 2019, and so I've been doing that for a bit. My audience has been across UX, so I tend to get researchers, designers, content strategists, service designers, and I tend to get people at all points of their career. I get the newbie trying to transition in, or someone who's still in some sort of educational program, all the way up to I'm the head of UX at a company I can't name. And so I've tended to have a very large UX focused audience that has certainly included designers of all types, but has also gone beyond that as well, because my expertise goes beyond that.
I mean, I totally agree with all you're saying in terms of like where our market is headed because I actually get a little annoyed whenever people write about how 2025 is the year. And like every quarter they
For
would say,
what?
yeah, like they would say 2024 is the year. Q1 or Q2 is going to be when hiring picks up again. And it never really happens and they kind of like they never own up to it, but
Right.
from a recruiting side it does feel like things are picking up a little bit right now in the last few months in terms of more roles opening up, but it also feels like there's a huge backlog of people who are still trying to find jobs post layoffs,
I don't
and
have a job,
it's tough.
and I'm looking. And hey, I've got some experience.
So how are you navigating all this? Like that is a really tough thing because you're definitely way more experienced than the average UX designer or researcher. And it would make sense for you to be employed at this point. So like what do you think is perhaps preventing that? And is there anything that you can do, or is it more something that you just kind of have to like manage emotionally internally because it's tough for sure.
Yeah, and I manage it quite externally on my YouTube channel and articles and books and stuff. But yeah, I do have hypotheses as to why I don't have a job yet. I can't say for sure, since you often don't get very detailed communications from any particular company. But I think I would have to guess that it's number one, I'm not coming into an office. So there's a lot of jobs I can't apply to because was, I have to be remote only. I'm not going to relocate. I'm not coming into your office. And so for all of the jobs that are on site or hybrid or come into the office a few days a week, impossible for me, not gonna do it. And those companies appear to have no flexibility because once in a while a company will say, what, Debbie Levitt wants to work here, as if I'm somebody. And I'll say, sure, I'd like to work there. And they go, oh, sorry, you'd have to live in Berlin. And I go, well, can I fly to Berlin and work there 2 days a week? And they're like, nah, they really want you closer to Berlin. So like, well, I'm a short flight away from Berlin. So I think a lot of it for me is I'm extremely as the whole return to work thing has come back, I'm extremely limited in what I can even apply to. Also, a lot of the jobs that have opened up have been in the UK. I don't have a right to work in the UK. And the jobs that are opening up in America want you there. And you could not pay me enough to move back to America right now. I'm not coming back. And so go ahead. So you're thinking something.
I was gonna laugh. That's all.
Please do. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Ah, ha, 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 ha. So, for those of you not familiar, I am American. I've been living in Italy exactly 7 years. My anniversary was yesterday, and
Congrats.
thank you. And we're now putting together my citizenship application, which I should be able to do in March. And so I would then have dual citizenship. But yes, I think that's the number one thing is I'm extremely limited in which jobs I can take, even in Europe, because even though I have the EU right to work, companies will say, can you move to Madrid? Can you move to Amsterdam? No. So I would have to be very desperate to move away from my home and my husband and my dogs, who are essentially my children. This summer I wrote a children's book about them. So these are my dogs. And you better be paying me really well. But Europe doesn't pay very well. Some of these jobs are like 60,000 a year, and I would now have to go set up a new life and apartment somewhere. So it doesn't make sense. So I would say number one blocking me and probably other people is return to office. I don't know how are you hearing that at all, Hung?
Yeah, pretty much every job right now is returned to like RTO. They're going to be in office. Most of them are hybrid, 2 or 3 days a week minimum. I've seen a few that are like 4 days, like hard 4 days. And I've also heard of a few that requires you to be in office 6 days a week because they're an early stage startup, right? Like yeah, middle finger right up there. So
Right.
it's not great.
Get your
And
life.
but I do feel like, what you're describing, there are two issues here. Yes, the market is pretty bad, but also you're struggling in terms of finding places that will hire somebody who's living in Italy currently. And that's like a separate top. Well, no, actually, I think they're related because when talent's scarce, they're like, yeah, we'll do remote. But when they
Right.
have a glove of talent, they're like, no, you got to be in office.
Well, here's the
So
weird thing. I had an almost job offer just before Thanksgiving. It was some of the lowest pay I'd ever seen in my life, and they wanted me in America. I started arranging to stay with a friend in Dallas. I was going to try to make some sense of this and crash with a friend in Dallas just to take the lowest paying job I'd seen in a very long time. And finally, I wrote to them and I said, I did the math again, and I just don't think I could do this. Are you sure there's no way for me to work remotely? And they said, oh, we just found out we could have requested for you to work remotely, but now it's going to take too long to get that approved. And my thought was, why wasn't that pre-approved? Like, why wasn't that an option? So I also wonder how many of these jobs, especially that are trying to pay bottom dollar, would benefit from that flexibility. Because if you want to pay, this job was going to be $40 an hour, 1099, and they wanted a senior researcher with at least 8 years of experience who could also be a little bit of a change agent, and they're paying 40 an hour. And it's like, with those numbers, you might want to have a little flexibility in where you can hire from, because my cost of living here is so low that I could survive on that. I would not put away fantastic savings, but I could survive on that.
yeah, but not in Dallas. That
No.
would be pretty hard.
And they didn't need me in Dallas, but they said, "Oh, you have to be physically in America." So I picked Dallas because one of my best friends has a big house and lives alone and said, "Come crash with me." Otherwise, I would have to go set up an apartment. And she's like, "Come live with me, share my car." Like she was going to make it easy for me. But ultimately, I did the math and I said, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to move to another country to make less money than my husband makes per hour when I could stay here and help him.
Yeah, it's pretty rough right now. But I do want to point out one positive thing. Uh, Andrew Milmo, thank you so much for your
Hello, Andrew.
donation. That's the first one, $100. That's quite generous of you.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you, thank you, thank you so much. Please, folks, if you're able to donate, please click the donation button or the donation link or the QR code in the bottom right. Please hit, and we would so appreciate it. So, Debbie, I feel like so much has happened in the last few years, especially when it comes to skills requirements, when it comes
Yeah.
to what they want from designers. What's your experience like in terms of what skills they're asking for now versus in the past, and where do you think it's going to go in the future?
Yeah, obviously in the more distant past, when I was coming up through the universe, there were usually distinctions between the UX designer and the UI or visual designer. These were almost always separate roles, and I'm talking back in the 2010s, especially the early mid 2010s. And so I'm not a strong artist, and which is a whole other topic. And so very often I didn't have to be. I could come into a company and they had visual designers and brand designers, and I could just do what I did best. And that allowed me to shine and get a great reputation and work some magic, and someone else got to make it look good and match the brand. And then that started shifting, and I was there for that because a lot of visual designers didn't like how much we were getting paid. And there were even books and stuff at the time that said, "Hey, visual and graphic designers, just call yourself a UX designer and start making more money." And so people were doing that, and it got really weird for those of us we thought we were doing something different, and all of a sudden they were saying, "No, we do that too," but they didn't. And then so we said, "Well, we'll call ourselves product designers and they can call themselves something else." That's where product designer kind of started. And so like I've got stuff from 2017 that says I'm a product designer. Like, okay, I'm designing the product. And even then, people didn't necessarily need me to be an artist. And then I think once Figma got more popular, a lot of people expected a lot of wireframes or prototypes to look very finalized. And you could do that in any software. There was nothing special about Figma, but there was just something about that tool coming up in popularity that made people think, "Oh, all of this stuff has to just be also designed." And they started merging those jobs more and more, not realizing that the job I was doing was already a merged job because they had merged interaction design with information architecture. And so now they were going to merge in visual and brand stuff. And that was so strange because to me, that was like the other side of the brain. Like, not everybody is going to be good at problem finding, problem solving, critical thinking, strategy, and interaction design and information architecture. And then not everybody's going to be good at the art stuff. So we see that coming together. I think that companies, in an effort to save money and make people do more stuff, they're just going to ask for more and more skills. But then I also think that there's going to be kind of a that's going to be that's the direction we've been heading in. And I jokingly call that the multi-corn. Like you have to be all the unicorns lumped together at the same time. But I also think that as AI takes on more of our tasks, if not our jobs, because we've Trojan horsed ourselves by bringing in a lot of AI into companies. Companies we trusted are Trojan horsing us. Like Figma is now almost completely aimed at product managers and telling product managers you don't need designers. So I think like we've seen this, you've got to do more, you've got to do more, you've got to have more skills, you have to be the multi-corn. But then I think that's going to fall off the cliff when people go, "Yeah, we used to need you to be a brand designer, but AI is doing that now. We just plug our design system into Figma AI, Miro AI, all of these, so many companies coming up with these tools. Hey, just plug it into that system and it will spit out some designs." And then the question is, who operates the AI? So I think that design is in some trouble as it's more likely to be quickly cannibalized both by hungry product managers trying to show they have value by doing our valuable work and by AI tools that are aggressively trying to replace us, like Figma and Miro.
So the thing about AI is that like if you try any of the AI UI generators, they're pretty terrible. Like they're not anywhere close to even say a mid-level designer when it comes to generating user interface for mobile or web apps. And it's kind of like mediocre, right? But at the same time, when you look at AI when it comes to code generation, that's on different level. Like you can get working products. Now, it might not be something you would commit to your your repo. You might not want to release that as a, as your production, but it's pretty close. It's gonna work, at least for a hackathon's purpose, or just to prototype or test things out. And I it doesn't feel like developers feel the same way when it comes to AI. They're kind of mostly viewing it as a value add or something to make it more efficient. Like it's still not going to be good enough to replace even a mid to senior level developer. But why should designers be more fearful if the technology we have for generating usable UIs is just still very, very far away?
Yeah, there's two key reasons for that. And if I can put in a quick plug, I go into that in my new book, Life After Tech, which you don't have to leave tech to read. There's two reasons why we need to be more concerned about AI. One of them is that the person who decides that AI replaces your job won't be you. And you have to remember that there are, in a world where all of us talk about how misunderstood UX is and they don't get us and they don't appreciate us, in that world, where we're not totally understood, it would be easier for someone who doesn't understand us to say, this AI can probably do it. It's good enough. How often have we heard it's good enough, just ship it type of stuff? So, thing one, we must remember that even if we think that the AI is mediocre, barely functioning at a junior level, someone else is going to say, looks good enough to me. And you will not be the person who gets to decide if the AI does your job or not. The second thing is that we already live, many of us, not all of us, but many of us live in a work universe full of mediocrity. We are constantly pushing out product that is shitty or half baked or not quite right or stakeholder ego project or not customer centric or badly designed or designed to raise KPIs but F the user. We already live in a world of such incredible mediocrity. And that mediocrity, in my opinion, is enhanced by the dilution of UX, which many people call democratization, but there's nothing democratic about it. We've just been gaslit with the term. So now we live in a universe in which mediocrity is okay. A poor performing product is okay. A rushed out product is okay. There's a will fix it later attitude. And so again, if it's okay for a product manager to do a mediocre or worse job at design, because they got a Figma license and they watched some Figma videos and went to the conference, it's very hard to make the argument that AI is not doing enough job because we already opened up the Trojan horse and the product managers came in and said, we can do this. This looks easy. We'll do this. And it's hard to then make the argument that it was okay for product managers to take over our jobs and do the work badly, but it's not okay for AI to take the work and do it in some cases just as badly. And so we're at the point now where all the warnings I've been giving people for 6 years about be a gatekeeper, have standards, don't democratize, fight for the value of what you're doing. It's too late. We let the Trojan horse in. The leopards are eating our faces, and we should be afraid of AI. Especially, I think designers will go before researchers.
So I would agree with you. I feel like UI designers or visual designers are probably the first to go if AI really takes off because that's the type of tools that we're currently building, right? We're building UI generators, image generators, and there isn't doesn't seem to be anything that will help you, say, create information architecture just yet,
Right.
or service design,
Right.
or design a product strategy just yet. So If anything, it feels like
AI
the
will design a product strategy. I think product managers are also going to be among the next to be cannibalized. And they've got Trojan horse problems as well, especially with, I won't name her, but so and so product leaders built her own AI tool, which is going to do your work. And the Trojan horse leopard eating face bit is she says, use this AI tool. Oh, it's not really a quote, but she says on her website, use this AI tool to do your product management work, and it'll also coach you to be a better product manager.
Mhm.
No, it's a Trojan horse for you to start using this tool and bring it at your job. And then someone will go, oh crap, this AI tool can do this work. Why do we have these people doing it? So I think product managers are going to watch themselves be cannibalized, as well as kind of that more visual design layer.
So, what is there to do, in your opinion, if you are a UX designer? Let's say somebody who is less visually inclined and more of a service designer or researcher.
Yeah, obviously, what can you do? There's a rainbow of options, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Certainly, you can continue trying to apply for the jobs that are out there, whether they are more traditional UX jobs or more visual focused or service design. Um, and another thing I want to remind people is, and I go through this in my Life After Tech book, is I think it's a fallacy that you have to love your work or define yourself by your work or your work is your life purpose. I absolutely give you permission for your work to be something that you do okay, you hopefully don't hate, and you put your
Hmm.
money in your pocket. So, number one, I want to encourage people to reframe the way they see work. When I think about the work that I've done, I felt that it was rewarding, but was it really my life's purpose to move a button around until an A/B test went better? Was it really my life's purpose to design this ridiculous thing that Macy's asked me to make and rip off eBay doing it and knowing it was going to fail? That I was not fulfilling my life's purpose, but I did the best job I could for the team that I was on and for what we were trying to do, and I put the money in my pocket, and I spoke up where I thought I should speak up, and I didn't fight a battle where I thought I didn't. So, first of all, everybody, do not be afraid to apply for or go into a job that is imperfect. I don't think there are perfect jobs anymore. Some people are at their dream jobs. That's rare. So apply for the thing that you won't hate, that will put money in your pocket, and use that money and your calm headspace to have a life outside of work and devote yourself to your true passions, your true calling, your true hobbies, the creativity, art, music, writing, whatever you're here on this planet to do. The work is just a transaction.
Hmm.
You do work, you get paid. You don't have to change the world. So apply for the things that you can apply. I don't think there's a lot of opportunity right now. I'm not saying there's zero, but I don't think there's a lot of opportunity for people to transition into stuff the way they used to be able to. Like I have some people who private message me and go, Deb, you have so much experience in so many different areas. Why don't you apply to a service design job? Now, 5, 6 years ago, I probably could have gotten away with that. Hey, look at all this design work I've done. Look at all this strategy work I've done. Look at all this research work I've done. Put them all together and I could be a service designer. And someone would go, yeah, give her a chance. And now that's not the case, because so many jobs say they want 2, 3, 4 years of experience, a proven track record, or things like that, or a real service design portfolio. And I can't show that. I can just show the pieces that would go into service design, but I can't say I have that. Same for product management. People say, hey, why don't you be one of those UX people who kind of transitioned into product management? And I go, almost every product manager job not only wants to see X years of product management, but they also want to usually see that you have shipped a product 0 to 1, which I can't say I've done. And so, which I'm hoping to do this year because there's a startup considering me, but that's another story. So I think that we have to, my main advice for people is to start to be more realistic about what's going on, and it's good to have hope, but it's not great to have unhealthy fantasies. And I don't want people to have unhealthy fantasies about the the job market or what your options are. So I think if you can stay in tech, great. If you're in tech, you have a job right now, start working on your side hustles, your side businesses, your entrepreneur stuff. We even saw, I think many of us like, and some of us don't, and that's fine, but many of us like Vivian Castillo. And we all saw her last year post about how she was getting into a pet related business. And
Hmm.
it's like, and everyone congratulated her. So I don't want people to think there's any stigma around, I'm going to do UX as long as I can. But you know what? I've got this other dream. I'm going to go into a pet business. We have a few people in my online community, my Discord community, who are going into like landscape architecture and things relating to plants. We have people who are moving into out of all kinds of things and into all kinds of things. And then we have some people who are just now getting a new tech job, and we support them too. You don't have to be leaving tech to be in my community. But my advice to people is to start planning, what will you do if you're done with tech or tech is done with you? You might be burned out. You might not be able to get that next job. We're supposed to be smart. We're supposed to be strategic. We're supposed to be problem finders and problem solvers. And yet so many people don't have an idea of what they'll do if they don't get a job, that next tech job.
So this is, I agree with you on a lot of these points, and I love that you're saying a job is just a job in many ways. But at the same time, it sounds like a pretty big departure from your previous messaging around like how we need to be more protective about user experience and the field itself to make sure that we don't dilute it, we don't, allow it to become so visually focused, and that we're creating user centricity and protecting the users from kind of sometimes damaging or harsh business measures. So, is there a way to
That is
perhaps,
still my message.
well, is there a way to balance the two, right? Because at the end, if you're saying a job is just a job, then it kind of, you're kind of like you're kind of have to be okay with the fact that the kind of work you're doing might not be at a super high level. You're not creating the most amount of user centricity. You're just doing it so you can collect a paycheck and then focus on your other passions.
Yeah, so my message lately has been, look, if you're in a, it's all about empowerment. If you are
Hmm.
in a job that is empowering and you are able to fight for users, design great things for users, raise concerns about user centricity or accessibility or other aspects of inclusion, hooray, freaking do it. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to tell you to uh, minimize that or disregard that. Everybody knows that I'm a change agent, whistleblower personality, and I want people out there fighting for stuff. But I also am smart, aware, and empathetic enough to know that many people at the jobs they're at now are not safe to be that change agent. It's not safe to be the person
Right.
who makes waves. It's not safe. And so that's why my advice to people is read the room, read the work culture you're at. If you are empowered to say things and make change and say we can do better than this, please do it. But if you are disempowered or abused, there's no way that my message is going to be, why aren't you fighting? Why aren't you standing up and saying more? There's no way I'm going to give that message to the burned out person or the abused person or the person who knows. Like, I've got a bunch of people in my community who work for stereotypical Central European companies, I won't name what country, which is still very male dominated, and women are not taken seriously. And a lot of these people are women, and there's no way I'm going to tell them, go tell those men what to do. That's not safe for them. It's not safe. We even have a new exercise in my coaching called Zones of Trust. And it's like, let's take a look at who we trust to tell the whole truth to and who kind of moves down that trust spectrum until we realize we just have to smile and nod. So I think that, yes, I'll always be a fighter. I mean, look at me now. I am as far as I can tell, I'm the first person on the planet writing a book about shifting out of tech. I'm not afraid to say the tough thing. I'm not afraid to talk about the difficult topic. I will always be the change agent and whistleblower. But We have to look at how empowered we are. So to me, both messages are true. It's a matter of reading your situation and going with the one that works best for you, knowing that I want you to put your oxygen mask on first.
That makes a lot of sense, and I actually agree with so much of it because it feels like
Thank you.
sometimes Mike Montero's message of, you have to just struggle against this wall at
I
times.
blocked him a long time ago. His message does not appeal to me. I've always thought that he stirred up a lot of shit and didn't always offer possibilities, options, or solutions. And so I don't I don't resonate with him. Or what's the good friendly thing to say here?
We might agree to disagree.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's, ciao Priska. Preach. Yes, thank you. Do you see a future where a designer's main responsibility becomes prompting integrated development environments like Cursor, Replit, or Windsurf to build sites or products in code and handing it off to dev to finish the back end? So as per, cool question. Thank you for that. As per an article I released some weeks ago about who will be the last tech person with a job, the multicorn, I don't believe that they will give designers that work. This is just a prediction. I hope it's not true. I would love to be wrong. My prediction is that when it comes to having a tool build something in code, the more likely person to prompt it or shepherd it or oversee it is an engineer, is a qualified developer of some type. I don't think it would make sense for a designer to do that. And I think many companies think so little of us that they don't think they need us to do that. The product manager is waving a flag going, I can do this. So I don't think a designer's job is going to shift into AI prompting. I think a lot of us are going to be asked to train AIs with design systems and patterns and components, and then we're going to find ourselves not working. So that is anybody could make any prediction here. That's my guess, that we're unlikely to do that. Sorry.
I can see that. Just want to do a quick update on the donations. We're at
Okay.
70%, so we're over $18,000, $18,077 raised. So, folks, if
Wonderful.
you're able to donate, please hit that donation button. Or, well, there's no button because of LinkedIn Live. They strip away all the hypertext.
It would also help to know
So,
who Tiffany is. I thought we were donating to LA in general, like you were going to give it to the Red Cross or something.
oh no, we each get assigned a family that
Oh,
lost their homes in Altadena. Because the issue right now is that part of the issue is most of the media coverage has been on the LA Palisades, which is kind of
right.
like a more, you know, rich
Yes.
neighborhood to say the least.
Yeah.
And like it's so unfortunate because there's this false narrative on social media that only the rich people have lost their homes, and most of them have like multiple homes, so it's not a
Sure,
big
sure.
deal
They're
or
the least
something, right?
affected in a sense. Yeah.
Sure, perhaps, but the issue is just that the devastating is so complete and so large that you have plenty of middle and lower class folks who've lost their homes, have lost their everything. And one of the areas is Altadena, California, which is part of LA, and it's been predominantly a black neighborhood, one of the first neighborhoods where black people were allowed to own
Oh
homes.
yeah, I
So
read about that.
this is like multi-generational wealth that's being destroyed. So our goal here is to, each support a family, try to hit the goal for them. And yeah, it's challenging. There's a lot of politics and like a lot of optics at play here. So
Yeah, and I'm very disconnected from it being over here. And I also stopped reading the news in 2016, so I only know little bits and pieces of things. But this is not a plug, not sponsored. I watched Corridor Crew's video on the fires. I don't know if anybody watches Corridor Crew on YouTube. I'm a little bit of a fan. Um, and they went and like one-wheeled up a mountain in LA to show everybody where the damage was and what was going on, and that gave me a little bit more of a realistic sense of it. So, Tiffany, I don't know you, but certainly we wish you the best, and I hope you'll be able to rebuild and reboot.
yeah, We hope so too. Look, I think one thing really want to ask about your framework is like, how do you decide between whether or not to stay in tech versus to leave and find something else? Because that's such a tough question for a lot of people. And there are good reasons to do both, right? And it's also a lot of risk and a lot of investment. So how do you help people decide between making that really tough choice?
Yeah. So there's first of all, I am a low risk person. I'm extremely calculated. I don't want to say calculating, but I calculate a lot of stuff and I'm low risk person. And so I don't want anybody to, as they say, gamble money they don't have. But when it comes to starting to look for what you can do outside of your tech job, in my book, I talk about starting with your core personal qualities. So my book takes a different approach to careers and career directions because a lot of books will say start with your skills. Where do your skills translate? And instead, I talk about let's start with your, oh, where did I put it? No, I can't find it. Core, all right, I can't see it. But anyway, core personal qualities is where we start. And I think that even that introspection was a little bit tough on some of my editors and thinking about who am I? Who am I? And what gives me a sense of reward? What type of work would I probably find okay or even like? Um, and so I start there with the book. And so I think that the low risk, the sooner people can start planning, the better. So for example, if you still have a job right now in UX or tech, it's a great time to start thinking about what else you have because your chances are you're not desperate, you're not burnt out, you're not experiencing additional mental health issues due to not working. And so now's a great time to start thinking about what else you might do. And I think the question to ask is, what are my core personal qualities rather than how do my skills translate? Because if I only looked at how do my skills translate, I would have a much more limited career options. So the directions that I've been going in, and people are welcome to ask any questions they would like because I've got no secrets. Let's see, I've started editing and formatting other people's books for which I charge money, and I've got 2 clients right now because I've published a squillion books. So that's something that I can certainly do for people who want to self-publish but are struggling with some of that. I'm in school right now to learn coaching, traditional ICF coaching. So I hope to be accredited in some months if people are
Hmm.
interested in coaching. Uh, deltacx.coach. But hopefully that's something that would bring in some money, especially once I'm accredited. My husband and I are trying to take a little bit of family land and open an RV park.
Wow.
We don't have an approval to do that yet. We are still working on the plans, but the land is in the family, and we hope that we can convince the town to let us do this because it's farmland, and they don't know whether or not they're going to let us park campers on farmland. But I'm not against making an RV park and scrubbing the bathrooms myself. Like, why not? I will sing my ass off and I will find it rewarding. Um, what else am I doing? Oh yeah, my husband and I just started a karaoke DJ business. This card is in Italian, but
Wow.
we are calling ourselves Pandemonio Party.
Oh yeah.
It's a little play on words. Instead of pandemonio, it's pandamonio as in panda. Yeah, thank you, Allison. Oh, great. Allison is ACC. Exactly. I'm still in school right now. School will be done in April. I'm still trying to get my hours, and I'm going to get the ACC as well. Thank you, Allison, cousin Allison. Um, we've started a karaoke DJ business because I have a previous life in music, some of you know, and I spent a little bit of money on equipment. I think we spent under $1,000 on equipment, and we held our first show between Christmas and New Year's in the village square. And the village entertainment committee said they want to pay us for 1 or 2 shows in the spring.
That's
Well,
awesome.
at the start, that will at least pay for the equipment. We think we can get maybe 400 a show. Karaoke doesn't pay tremendously here in rural Italy, but um, To me, I just look at each of these things as, ooh, could this be a car payment? Ooh, could this be groceries for the month? I'm happy to look at money in small pieces. And yes, in the book, I talk about having a budget and understanding your budget and understanding where you can cut your budget. We've cut thousands and thousands and thousands out of our budget by being smart and buckling down starting last year when I knew my job was coming to an end. But I mean, we're open to doing anything. I'm 53. I don't mind going out there and being a karaoke DJ. I got a panda hat and everything. And so and thousands of dollars of professional equipment and yeah, and a campground, and oh, and and I'm still publishing books. The books don't make me a huge amount of money, but I published my first children's book. I'm now writing my first novel because I didn't think I could make up a story, but I'm making up a story. It's still a little weird for me. I don't know if it's good. I'm at 17,000 words. I hope to make it to 40 so that it's a proper book and not a short story, but I don't know, and anything could happen. I still think my life after tech book is going to explode when people become less afraid to have that conversation about what else we're going to do. And yeah, because we can't, it's hard to break into stuff that doesn't want newbies to come in. And that's a lot of jobs right now. Like one of the things I talk about in the book is Google Career Dreamer, which is an AI that will try to match you with new careers, suggested that I be a water resource specialist. Yeah, as if I can just slide into that. Boogie woogie woogie. Allison says, I kind of want to open a bookstore and co-working spot. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people have said I want to open a cafe. Designish folks have so many of the skills to start entrepreneurial ventures. Yeah, basically what I remind people in my book is like you've spent all of this time making other businesses better. You have so many wonderful abilities you probably don't even know about because you've made so many other businesses better and more successful. Now you can make your own thing better and more successful. And guess what? It can be a side thing. I'm not going to be a full-time professional karaoke DJ, but if I were, that'd be okay. I'd get to sing all the time. That'd be fun. But I might not be a full-time professional karaoke DJ. I might get 3 gigs this year, but so what? And so these are the things I just want to remind people is that there shouldn't be a stigma in this. Nobody should be picking on anybody about this. Nobody should be saying, oh, Deb, you're giving up on UX. I'm not. UX is giving up on me. I would like to stay in UX until I'm 91. I would like to do 40 more years in UX, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think UX is going to have jobs for the next 40 years. So we've got to plan something.
I feel like there are still UX jobs right now, though, right?
Sure.
There are still openings, and it feels like much of the hurdles that people are facing right now is around upskilling or perhaps reskilling, where they need to get a little bit better at certain things in order to land the available jobs out there. Now, it's definitely more competitive, but the jobs are still available. And I am seeing quite a few courses out there to help people up level or to reskill so that they're more qualified for jobs. And many of these courses are doing quite well on Maven, for example. And but
I
why
don't recommend
why
this.
why not upskill and be more
Yeah, I can
competitive?
answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a common way to think, and I'm not saying it's 100% wrong all the time, but this is what people have to weigh, and that is when you look at a job description for a job you're considering, how many years of experience does it expect you to have? And what type of experience does that expect you to have? So we all know that I'm an extraordinarily mediocre artist. I haven't done UI work in the past. Let's imagine that I'm going to follow what Hung says, and I'm now going to take one course, 10 courses. I'm going to try to upskill right now in visual design, brand design, graphic design, UI design, product design, whatever we're calling it this week. am I a desirable candidate? Because I will have just learned this and I will not be able to show past jobs, corporate experience. I'll be able to show practice projects, personal projects, sample projects, school projects. Now, some jobs might be okay with that. I get it. That would be great. If you can upskill and then wow, the upskilling is the absolute yellow brick road to the new job, then I'm not going to tell you not to do it. But my concern is that a lot of people are going to spend a lot of money on courses. And to me, the Maven courses are some of the scariest because they're very often $600 and more. And you're certainly not guaranteed a job. And my question is, do you so first of all, I did a show many years ago where the question was, should you upskill? Should you learn? Should you? And my answer was number one, you have to decide for yourself if you just want to learn this. Like I went to voice acting school. I'm not going to do professional voice acting work, but I'm glad I did it. So number one, you might upskill because you just want to do it and you're challenging yourself, and that's great. But if you're upskilling because you think it's going to get you the job you don't qualify for now, does do you believe that these types of jobs will welcome the person who's just learning or just improving this now? If that's a yes, good. If Ryan says I want to respond to this line of questioning. Yeah, Ryan's on Maven, and I have nothing to say about Ryan. I'm not a big fan of Maven, but the bottom line is you are not you're not guaranteed, and if I had to guess what Ryan's going to say, because Ryan says I can't wait to respond to this line of questioning, Ryan's going to go against me. And Ryan has a horse in the race. Ryan is a Maven instructor. I don't know Ryan. So I've got nothing positive or negative to say about Ryan or Ryan's course or courses. I don't even know what he teaches or how. But he has a horse in the race. I don't. I don't have a course on Maven. And so I can say that I want each person to assess each course individually and to decide if it's something they wanted to learn anyway and it's just personal development and they'll be happy they took it, even if it doesn't get them a job, like the way I went to voice acting school and spent $3,000 and did it anyway, even though it didn't get me a job. Or is this likely to help you get the job? And so that's my concern, because I know if I went out and took a bunch of art related courses or branding or visual design or marketing, I still think I would be the undesirable candidate, just like I'm an undesirable product management candidate. I was only a product manager on paper for 6 months, and product management jobs don't want me. And I don't think if I took the top, most of the top 10 Maven courses right now are about product management. If I took all 10 top 10 product management courses on Maven, would I qualify any better for a product management job that expects me to have done certain things in the past at startups or corporate companies? That's my question. So each person has to decide if upskilling is right for them. I'm not going to give a blanket never upskill, and I'm not going to give a blanket everybody run out and spend your money.
I get it. And I just want to do a quick shout out to some donors because we only have a few minutes left,
Yes.
unfortunately. This went by so quickly. Priska Eakin, thank you so much for your donation. Hope Egodao. Oh, hey, Hope, how's it going? I just saw Hope I want to say a week or two ago at this point. Life has been a blur for the past few days, so I have lost all track of time. Thank you so much. We've gotten quite a few donations. We're almost at $200 for this hour. That's awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Keep
Really
giving,
appreciate
everyone.
it. And Debbie, so I have so many more questions, but so little time. And it's funny because Ryan's the next guest, I believe, for this call. And the other thing about Ryan is that he actually doesn't have a visual design course on Maven. He's talking about product strategy. And it's interesting. Like his course is definitely not for junior designers, for example. Like it's probably more for somebody who's gainfully employed and more senior and just wants to
And I
focus a
would
little bit more.
add,
Yeah.
again, I've got courses on product strategy. I've got an entire book on it. Customers Know You Suck. And what I remind people is that a product strategy course can be great if you are in a job where you are empowered to affect product strategy. My guess would be that in many situations, if you are there to just be the Figma jockey, that while Ryan's information could be good, I'm not saying it's not good. I do worry about people who are disempowered in their jobs. And we also hear a lot of, hey, I tried to be more strategic in my job and I was told, shut up and make what the product manager said. Or I tried to speak up more about business value or the thing I learned in my product strategy and I was told, get back in your lane, you're the designer. So I just want everybody to consider what the value of a course to them. Ryan says, by the way, I totally agree with Debbie that a course isn't going to make you qualified for something you don't know yet. It's not a 0 to 1. Yeah, absolutely. And again, Ryan's course might, not knowing it, hashtag not sponsored, right? Where's my hashtag not sponsored? Not sponsored. I don't know Ryan's course at all, but it could be a good option for people who are in an empowered place and need to get those techniques and that knowledge to be able to be more strategic in a role asking them to be more strategic. But if we're in roles where we are being shit on for trying to be strategic, then I would just, caution people on any particular course or upskilling. It's got to make sense because, I can't, it would be very hard for me to become the water resource specialist that Google Career Dreamer thinks I should be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Debbie. We're just out of time now. And I just want to
Boo!
thank, yeah, no,
Thank
next
you.
time we'll do this again soon. Thank you
Thank
so
you. I
much,
hope
Debbie,
so.
for donating your time, your expertise. I learned a lot. I hope everybody else did as well. I want to thank Hope, Priska, Andrew, and Steve Domingo as well for your generous donations. We're going to continue. We have one more episode with Ryan Scott next. It's gonna be at a different link, so I hope to see all y'all there. So just give me a quick bio break, Ryan. I'll be with you in like a
Yeah, and I
minute or
just want to
two.
quickly say I apologize to Ryan that I'm not going to listen to his show because it's 10 at night here and I have
Oh,
to be on a panel at 2 in the morning for New Jersey and
whoa.
I am going to go take a nap. So, Ryan, go tell everybody all the things and say whatever you need to say and feel free to disagree with me.
Oh, thank you, Debbie, for staying up so late for this. I appreciate that. It's not easy.
Thanks.
All right,
That's fine.
take
I got to
care.
do 2 in the morning. Thanks everybody. Donate.
Thank
Bye.
you. Please donate. Take care.